The Whisper of Ashes. The town of Elmsworth was a place where seasons seemed to linger longer than they should, where winters clung to the bones and summers shimmered with memories long gone. Nestled between dense woods and a winding river, it was a place that outsiders rarely visited and locals seldom left. It was here that Elise and Jonah grew up, their lives entwined like the roots of an ancient oak. Elise was fire, reckless, brilliant, and stubborn. Jonah was the calm, steady, thoughtful, and kind. Their friendship began in childhood, forged in the laughter of endless summers and the quiet whispers of shared secrets. By the time they were teenagers, their bond had deepened into something unspoken but palpable, like the hum of a melody carried on the wind. But life has a way of stealing simplicity. When Jonah's father passed away, the weight of responsibility fell heavily on his shoulders. He had to abandon his dreams of becoming a painter and take over the family's struggling hardware store. Elise, with her untamed spirit, planned to escape Elmsworth as soon as she graduated. She dreamed of bustling cities, art galleries, and a life unchained by the monotony of small-town expectations. Their paths began to diverge, and though neither said it, they both felt the ache of impending separation. On the night before Elise was set to leave for college, Jonah took her to their favorite spot by the river. Under a canopy of stars, he confessed his love for her, a love that had been growing, quietly and persistently, for years. Elise cried. She loved him too, but she couldn't stay. Not for him, not for anyone. She promised they'd keep in touch, that she'd come back during holidays, but deep down, they both knew the truth. Elise's dreams were too big for Elmsworth, and Jonah's roots were too deep. For years, they kept their promise to write, though the letters became less frequent as time passed. Elise's life in the city was everything she had imagined: art exhibits, late-night parties, and a whirlwind romance with a man named Victor. Jonah remained in Elmsworth, his days a blur of work and quiet evenings. He occasionally tried to date, but no one ever made his heart race like Elise had. One winter, a letter arrived for Jonah, written in Elise's familiar, looping handwriting. But it wasn't filled with tales of adventure or joy. It was a cry for help. Victor had turned out to be controlling and cruel, and Elise felt trapped. Without hesitation, Jonah drove to the city to bring her back home. Elise returned to Elmsworth a shadow of her former self. The spark in her eyes had dimmed, and her laughter was rare. Jonah tried to help her heal, offering quiet companionship and unwavering support. Slowly, Elise began to mend, finding solace in the familiar rhythms of small-town life and the steady presence of Jonah. But life, as it often does, dealt another cruel blow. Jonah was diagnosed with a rare aggressive cancer. The news hit Elise like a tidal wave. For the first time, she realized how much she had taken Jonah for granted, how deeply she loved him, and how much she had lost by leaving. She became his caretaker, dedicating herself to making his remaining days as joyful as possible. They spent hours by the river, reminiscing about their childhood, and Jonah even picked up his paintbrush again, creating portraits of Elise that captured both her beauty and her sorrow. As winter gave way to spring, Jonah's condition worsened. On a crisp morning in April, he passed away in his sleep, his hand clasped tightly in Elise's. The loss was devastating, but it also brought Elise a clarity she had never known. Jonah had taught her the meaning of unconditional love, and she was determined to honor his memory. Elise stayed in Elmsworth, turning the hardware store into a community arts center where children could paint, sculpt, and dream. She found a new purpose in nurturing the creativity of others, just as Jonah had nurtured her spirit. Though the pain of losing him never fully faded, Elise carried Jonah with her in every brushstroke, every laugh, and every starry night by the river. And in the quiet moments when the world felt still, she swore she could hear his voice in the whisper of the wind, reminding her that love, no matter how fleeting, leaves an indelible mark on the soul.